Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Coffee Time. This is episode number 55. Alongside me is current Major League player Andy Young for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And go figure, like I told him on text, here's his rookie card I got in for collecting for my son.
Nice.
Genuine rookie card from last year when you had no fans. So I gotta ask you, seeing this picture with no fans, how
Yeah.
was it playing with no fans?
Oh man, it was my first year, and I guess you're not really used to those big stadiums in general. And then when you get in there, get in those stadiums with no fans, it's kind of eerie how quiet it can be. And then about halfway through the year, they started kind of having artificial fan noise, and I almost think that was worse. It was loud, and they didn't know how to use it, but it was definitely weird.
It had to be weird. I mean, especially when you're since you were a rookie last year. I mean, you dealt with fans all your life in high school uh, and minor leagues before being called up. So I'm sure it had to be weird for you guys playing with no fans whatsoever. And I'm sure automated noise didn't make it feel any better because I'm sure it just felt like practice to you guys.
Yeah, well, it didn't feel like practice because I think that uh, the MLB is just so different, and even though, like you said, there's always been fans, so fans doesn't make or break things, but when you're playing against some people that you grew up watching, that makes it not feel like practice pretty quick. And especially in our division when you're playing the Dodgers and the Giants and these teams that are just really really good with veteran players that I grew up watching, really good pitching. Definitely didn't feel like practice, but the fan noise was just weird. I felt like it was like a video game background noise is kind of what it felt like.
I bet. So I know I gotta ask you. We just had the Olympics last year.
Yep.
I know you were playing in during that time, but I'm sure you had time to watch at least a little bit of it. And you played with some of those guys or against those guys on that team. What was it like to watch them win the silver medal, knowing that you played with them or against them?
It was awesome. I mean, unfortunately, they played at really weird times because it was in on the games. But yeah, like I really good friends with Westbrook. Played with him in 2019, and we hang out a lot in Arizona. That's where he's from, and to see them come back with a silver medal is really cool. And then I played with a bunch of, obviously, in the minor leagues and the major leagues. You play with a lot of Latin Americans too, and they came back with bronze medals. And I think Japan won it, and I didn't know anyone on that team, but it was either DR or Venezuela took third. So some of our teammates came back with bronze, so that was really cool too.
Yeah, it's. I gotta ask you this. It's quite funny because I heard that the team that won gold obviously was Japan.
Yeah,
They take off during their season to let the All Stars and their best play.
yeah.
Now, obviously, that's different from here, but honestly, in your opinion, wouldn't you like to see our best in the Olympics like it is for basketball and
Yeah,
hockey?
yeah, I do. I think that would be really, really fun to watch. I just don't know if it's possible during an MLB season because with all the contract money, I'd be curious to see how Japan does it. Take these guys that I'm assuming are on very large guaranteed contracts. Actually, I think they paused their season, which is
They do. They do.
which is interesting. I don't know if you could pause the MLB season. It's just such a beast of a big sport in America that I don't know if you could just pause it for a month like Japan did. But I guess it worked out for them being in Tokyo. I'm sure the fans still got their fix on baseball, and they probably love to watch it, just like we'd love to watch it. But I don't know if we do that. And I think that that's kind of why we have the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
A
That's
lot of
true.
our guys playing that, and that's always a blast to watch.
I think that was supposed to happen last year, right? But because of the pandemic, it didn't go through. I could have sworn we were supposed to have that last year.
Yeah. Yep. It definitely could have been. I don't know. It's just sometimes with these things, the Olympics and the baseball classic, I feel like you hear about him a few months before and then you get excited for him, but I don't actually know how many years it is between each World Baseball Classic. I don't know if it's 2 or 4 if they do that, or if it's every year. I don't really know.
So take us through your daily routine since you were newly called up your rookie year. You went through your rookie year 20. What is your daily routine to get you going for a game?
Okay, so in season, we play almost all night games. So assuming we're at just a normal homestand where I have a few night games in a row, get done with a game around probably around 10:30, have dinner at the field, and then take it back to the house. I try to get to bed pretty quick, sleep in, and then I normally just kind of sit in the backyard and eat breakfast kind of by the pool, trying to relax a little bit, maybe read a book or something like that, and then I'll head to the field around 1:30 or 2, kind of depending on if I have early work or if I have a lift. So every day is kind of different that way, but I'll get that stuff in, and then once you're done with that, it goes quick. You are taking some ground balls on the field, and then you go in, you have a hitters meeting where you talk about the other team and the other team's pitcher, and then you kind of bounce out for BP. You eat food, pregame food, and then you have like an hour to chill out and do whatever you want. Some guys do the hot tub, some guys are stretching in the weight room, and then you kind of just take it on the field and you play. So that's kind of what it is. It's pretty basic, and sometimes there's more and sometimes there's less, but I'd say that's the pretty normal routine.
There you go. So take us through your draft process when you were coming out of college, and you got drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in 2016. Take us through that experience, and who called you when you first got the idea that you were going to be drafted?
Okay, yeah, so that's kind of a funny story because I didn't know I was going to get drafted. I was the last pick of the 37th round, so it's good that I didn't get drafted in these new drafts because I think they only have 20 rounds now. But
yeah, it's shortened, yeah.
So I wasn't even watching the draft. I was back home in North Dakota, the area. I was actually at the lakes in Minnesota with some of my friends, and I was on a boat, and I got a call from the farm director, Gary LaRocque in St. Louis, and he said, we drafted you. We're going to have a flight for you in 3 days, and you're going to be in Jupiter, Florida, and you're going to start in rookie ball. And that's it pretty much. And then my dad called me and he's like, hey, were you watching the draft? You see it? I thought someone called me. And then yeah, I just drove back. I was like, I better find my baseball stuff because my college season was over for a while and I wasn't really hitting or anything. And I worked out for 2 or 3 days in the north, and then I flew to Jupiter, and it happened pretty quick.
Now, according to this, you signed with them for this is a lot to me, of course, because I don't have this kind of money, but $3,000. I mean, that's something to start off with for your baseball career. I mean, starting in the Gulf Coast League, it looked like with them. Tell us about that experience in the Gulf Coast League before being traded in 2018.
The Gulf Coast League was very, very hot. Florida in the summer is very humid. It was.
Oh
yeah. It's an interesting league because you kind of get your first taste of what professional baseball is like on the field. I don't think anyone really has any idea how they're going to line up. And being a 37th round draft pick, didn't know what 95 looked like. I didn't know what 98 looked like. Curious to see how I would kind of react to these players from around the world. And fortunately, it went really well. I got promoted halfway through that year to State College, and it was kind of cool. My rookie ball team, although I wasn't there at the end of the year, they won a championship, and then my short season team in State College, Pennsylvania, we won a championship too. So my last season of professional baseball, I won 2 championships with the Cardinals, so that was actually really fun.
Yeah, because according to this, you went to the All-Star game in the Midwest League when you were with the Chiefs. You were in the All-Star game and a home run derby. What was that experience like playing for them in the All-Star game and home run derby?
Oh man, so it's kind of a funny story. I was an all-star, and then I was gonna be in the home run derby, but I got promoted right before the
Ooh,
games. I actually
nice.
didn't get to participate in those events, but the next year I was a high A all-star in the Florida State League, and I got to do the home run derby that year. It was a blast. I mean, the home run derby, I would love to do another one. That is so.
Is it the same? Is it the same like the what they do in the majors? I know there's less fans, but still, is it like the same concept, same format as the majors?
Oh man, the majors change it so much that I don't even know if what we were doing was the same as what they were doing, but I do know that it's not how they do it because I don't think in 2000, man, that was probably 2017 or 2018. I don't even think the majors have the same format as they had then as they have now.
Yeah, probably not. It's weird because they always keep changing like every single year. It seems like.
Yeah, seriously. But I like the new format. I think it's fun at the time and the one-on-one face-offs. I know I didn't do that when I was in high A, but I like watching the really fun derby with that format.
If you were ever chosen to do that, would you end up doing that home run derby in the pros
Oh yeah,
and facing off against those veterans you looked up to
oh yeah, that'd be a blast. I'd love to do it.
and going up some of the big heavy hitters of well, I know Miggy won't do it no more, but you got like Vlad Guerrero and all of them. That'd be something, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, it'd be awesome. And I actually got to play with Vlad in the fall league. We were teammates, so it'd be nice to see him again. And I mean, he can hit a baseball about as far as anyone I've ever.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it would be a blast to be a part of that.
So then you, like I said, you were traded. I believe it was at the end of the 18 season, close to 19,
Hmm.
uh, to the Diamondbacks in the Paul Goldschmidt trade.
Yep.
Uh, what was that experience like? And who told you were going to be traded? Was it the GM, coach? Who told you were going to be traded?
It was so. This is kind of a funny story too. It was after the fall league, so I was back home, and it was, man, it must have been early December, and I was sitting in a deer stand, and my friend was sitting in another one, and I have my phone in my pocket, but it's pretty cold in North Dakota, so
Mm-hmm.
I kept it was in my pocket right here, and it was just buzzing. I was like, "What the heck?" And I look at it, and it was just a missed call from a number I didn't have, and I was like, "Whatever, like I'll figure it out later." And then like a few seconds later, it buzzed again, and it was said, "Hey, this is Mike Gersh, who is the GM of the Cardinals. Call me. It's kind of important." So I was like, "Man, I got to get out of my tree, and I got to get to somewhere where I can windy and it's snowing in North Dakota." So I got down, I walked back to the truck, and I called him. He's like, "Hey, thanks for." It was a pretty short conversation. I was like, "All right, yeah, it was great being with you guys," and then he's like, "It's going to go public in about 30 minutes. I can't tell you who it's for, but just be ready."
Because yeah, that was a pretty big trade. It looks like they um traded you Weaver and Carson Kelly for him. So
Yeah,
that was a big trade, and you guys are still remaining with the team. So that's saying something.
yeah,
That rebuild that they were going through right there. At
yeah,
least you guys were the main stay fits. You guys haven't been traded anywhere else.
yeah, yeah. No, it was. I mean, it was on ESPN, and it was definitely a big time trade, which was kind of exciting. Even though I think I was in Double A that year, so Carson Kelly and Luke were in the big leagues, and probably the bigger names of that trade, but there was still quite a bit of publicity on my side too, so it was pretty cool.
What's it like playing alongside them for the major league roster now that you know you got traded with them? What's it like playing alongside them?
It's cool. I kind of looked up to them when they were ahead of me. They were drafted before me, so they were in AAA and I was in AA. So I never got to play with them in the Cardinal system. So I didn't really know them that well. But then once I got to know them, they're good friends of mine now, and it's cool, and we can kind of relate back to some of the coaches and some of the memories that they had in the St. Louis Cardinal system. So it's definitely cool.
So you were added to the Diamondbacks 40 man following the 2019 season. Uh, what do you remember about that? being told you were going to make the roster, and were you expected to make your debut that year?
So I was just waiting on the call. There's a certain day which they pretty much make all the moves. And so I was just kind of waiting by my phone, and then I think they called me at like 3 or 4 o'clock, and they're like, "Hey, we're putting you on the roster. Congratulations." It was a pretty short call, and it's in November, so it's a ways off from the season. So I don't know too much about debuting or anything like that in November, but no, it was exciting, and I think that once you're put on the roster, I think that you're really close to being in the big leagues, because I mean these teams run through a lot of players here with injury stuff. I mean, looks a lot different at the beginning of the year than the end of the year. So it's exciting, and that being in the locker room all the time. So that maybe it'd be my year, but you never know. I just was going to go back to work and try and be the best player I could be, so I could get that call.
So unfortunately, but it's at least your gain. You made your debut on August 1st of last year against the Dodgers, replacing Ketel Marte, who unfortunately got hurt. What was that experience like, and who told you you were going to be called up? Was it the manager, GM, coach? Who was it that told you were going to be called up that day?
So the farm director, Josh Barfield, called me, and he said, "You're going to the big leagues tomorrow." So at that time, there was no AAA. I was at the alternative site in Scottsdale, and we were just playing to get ready. Like, just grab your stuff in the morning and head to Chase. And that was pretty much it. It was a pretty short conversation. And then the next day I was there. And I think the first day I was there, we were playing, the Dodgers. And I think they were beating us, and it was later in the game. And then someone got hurt. So I went in. I didn't get in that bat. I was on the on-deck circle. I got close, but I didn't hit. And then the next day, I think Houston came in, and then I got in a bat, and I got a hit. So it happened pretty quick, but it was awesome. It was a really fun experience.
Now, as we talked, you were just like me. You're just like me, even though I haven't played, but you're just like me, playing out there with guys you grew up watching, especially in the Dodgers. You played against the Dodgers, your first call up.
Yeah.
What was that experience like in playing with guys? And you faced them, I think. No. Yeah, you faced guys like Kershaw.
Mm-hmm.
What was that experience like? Growing up, you idolized them.
It is crazy. It's surreal, but also you play against them in spring training, and you play against a bunch of their guys in AAA. And I think that once you're there, you kind of have to have the mindset of let's succeed a little bit and stick around, So that's, I think, more was on my mind than being like starstruck. I think that once you're just in the arena and you try to compete a little bit, that goes away a little bit. But then after, like, man, I watched him pitch in this game, and it's pretty cool to think back on it. And after a game or in the off season or something like that. But when you're playing against them in the moment, I think that goes away a little bit.
Now, who did you? I know it's short so far, but in your time, who'd you have difficulty hitting, and who'd you dominate so far in your short time?
That's hard to say. I mean, I don't know if I have started against enough people to really say that I've dominated anyone, or like I don't even really have enough at bats to say I've really struggled against people, because my big role this year was I was kind of the pinch hitter off the bench. So a lot of these guys are relief pitchers. So you're getting one at bat against a relief pitcher, and then the next night it'll be someone else. Then the team will be gone, and it's not like you face these guys.
So is your role basically consists of a utility guy, or are you just strictly second base?
Utility.
So you play anywhere in the outfield, infield?
I play mostly in the minor leagues. I've played some short. I played first. I played a game in right. I'll kind of play wherever.
Now, how difficult is it to switch positions if you haven't played it?
I think that they're all pretty similar. Sometimes it can be difficult just on the situation, but when you know you're going into a utility role, you kind of make sure that you take ground balls at every position. So I guess it's a unique challenge, but when you do it a lot, it's not as difficult as you'd think.
So on August 9th, you hit your first career home run against my San Diego Padres. Do you remember who it was off of that you hit?
Oh, he was a Latin American pitcher. I don't remember his name, to be honest. But I do. I remember that game. I started at third base, and he was throwing 100 as a starter. So he held the offense down a little bit, and then later in the game, we got to the bullpen a little bit. So that was cool. And actually, I was high school teammates with Matt, and I hit the ball, and it went feet in the bullpen. So that was kind of a cool.
So, out of all the stadiums you played for so far in the majors in your short time, is there one in particular that you like playing in?
They're all really nice. I really like Denver. Good hitters park. I like the grass. I like the infield. I really like Seattle. I like Cincinnati.
That's another good one, yeah.
I like Cincinnati too. Basically,
yeah, Great American is that's a true hitter's park right there.
Yeah, so I really like Cincinnati, and it felt good being in. I think it was snowing that day, which everyone wouldn't love, but from being out, it felt kind of cool.
A lot of people say too, Houston is a hitter's ballpark too because of the Crawford boxes.
Oh yeah, Houston is a great spot to hit, especially to left.
Now, one would you say is difficult? I think I've never been there personally, but I want to. Is Petco Park? Would you say that's a hard park to hit in, especially with the sea breeze?
Yeah, I think that during the day it's a little easier, but at night when that heavy air comes in, it definitely holds the ball up. The lines are still pretty fair, but out to center field, I think that if you get it on a bad day, it's not great. And also their pitchers are really good too, which is probably a bigger factor than the park.
Now, would you consider your team basically still in rebuild mode, or do you guys see yourself competing in the NL West anytime soon?
I think that as players, you don't really think of rebuild. I would say we're young. We're a young team still.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a lot of talented players that are coming up, and I would love to think that we can definitely compete with these teams. And we are young, and we don't have star power that some of these other teams have. But I would say we're young. We're not rebuilding.
Fair enough. I'd say that fair enough too, because yeah, you guys got some young talent. You got Pavin Smith. You got Marte still there. You've got quite a bit. But what about your pitching? Your pitching, you got I don't know how it is going to be with Bumgarner, but he was kind of in a tail slide last year. Do you think he'll bounce back? Have a bounce back season?
Yeah, he had a stretch last year too. He had probably one of the best stretches he's had in his career in the middle part of last year. So, and then he got hurt a little bit. But I think Bumgarner had a good year, and I think I think that everything he does is just it's very, very valuable if it's in the clubhouse or if it's on the mound. Like, he's just a great player, so he's a huge asset.
Have you learned a lot from him, from his leadership with his veteranship there? Because I know how much of the veterans how much have you learned from the veterans in that clubhouse?
Oh, a ton.
Not much.
I'd say
Listen with Daddy.
I love talking to Bumgarner. Like, I think he's one of the coolest dudes I've got to play with. But I think most of our conversations revolve around kind of just like he's from a smaller town in North Carolina. So we talk about horses and cows, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Not a fierce, really trying to teach me how to throw a changeup or anything like that. But guys like Nick Ahmed, who the Gold Glove shortstop, learning
Mhm.
that's where I've learned the most position, and David Peralta when I was learning how to play left field, of how to play the wall and all that stuff, which is a little unique coming from the infield.
Now, I know this is too early to tell because obviously it's still the off season and spring training hasn't here. But tell us and everybody, what are we to see out of the 2022 Arizona Diamondbacks? What are we expecting?
Well, I think that we're going to be. First of all, we play very, very hard. Other teams have always on how we play hard. We play to the wire, and that's just kind of how we're a gritty team that's gonna leave it all out there every night. And we saw that last year, and I know that we're gonna keep doing that. And but yeah, like you said, it's still the off season, and a lot of these teams, there's a bunch of free agents. We don't even really know what the whole team is gonna look like. So.
Mhm.
But I know the guys there are going to leave it all out there and play as hard as they can every night. And that's just a lot of fun to be in a clubhouse with guys that are going to grind like that.
Now, let's talk a little about your division foes. The Dodgers. They're starstruck. They got who's who. Justin Turner, David Price, Trey Turner, Max Scherzer, who I think they will. I think they'll sign them eventually. Where do you see the Dodgers competing next year? Do you see them going back to the World Series possibly? Where do you see them going? I know you guys want to beat them, but who doesn't? Who doesn't? But where do you see them going?
I think that they're a really good team. I think the Giants are a very good team, and I think the Padres are a really good. I think it's really hard to see how that division will shake out. We're a young team. We're a good team. And then Colorado is kind of young as well. So it's really hard to see how everything will shake out. I mean, the Dodgers have obviously spent a ton of money on bringing in these players because I think that they feel like they have a really good opportunity to make runs at it every year right now. And that's kind of what teams do when they're in position. So it's going to be interesting to see if they make who they sign back and stuff like that. And I think that that'll play into how it all shakes out.
Did you have a chance to watch the World Series this year? And if so, what'd you think of it?
I did watch some of it. I do a lot of hunting when I get back, but I did get to watch some of it. I thought that Atlanta, I don't know if it surprised me just because I was so locked into the NL West, and I thought it was so good. I thought, I guess Atlanta kind of surprised me. We played them early in the year and we swept them. But then at the end of the year, and it was a good group, so it's kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it just depends on how hot they get, and obviously, because they're one of those teams. If you don't remember, recall too, while you were in the minors, the 2019 Nationals, they were the same thing, and they won the championship that year. They were last in the division come All-Star break, just like the Braves were this year, and they won it all. I didn't see it coming out. I didn't see it coming out of the blue at all this year.
Yeah.
I knew they were talented, but I did not see them winning the World Series this year. I was thinking a World Series rematch between Dodgers and the Rays. That's what honestly I was thinking of.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that, and especially after the Braves ran into some injuries late with some key players. But again, it's just with those teams that are all that good and that close, I think that whoever gets hot at the right time is who's going to win, because if your team, no matter how good you are, if you're not playing your best baseball, someone else is going to beat you, So it's kind of why baseball is a cool sport. It's a little shake up at the end.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, we've seen blowout games where the manager has allowed a position player to pitch.
Yeah.
would you ever do that if you were told to? Would you do that just for the heck of it? If you were in a blown out game and they told you to go out on the mound and pitch?
If they told me to, I'd definitely do it. I've never had the opportunity to do it yet, but I used to pitch in high school, but I don't know how I would do it. If I'd lob it in there really slow or if I'd try to throw it a little harder, I'd have to think about it more. But yeah, if they asked me to, I'd run it out there. It's kind of a, it's not just a win-win, you know? I mean, no one really expects you to go out there and punch out the side. They just kind of want you to lob it in there and save some pitching. So I guess it'd be kind of fun.
Now, have you had a chance to meet some of the while your time in the organization with the Diamondbacks? Have you had a chance to meet with Luis Gonzalez and some of those veterans that were part of your the club's World Series team in 01?
Yeah, so I got to meet Gonzo a few times, and he's an awesome guy, and he's still pretty involved in does radio sometimes, and he fills in. So he's around, and I actually got to go to his house once and work out at his little facility he has there. So I know him a decent amount, and he's just an awesome guy. But besides that, I don't think I have met. I met Randy Johnson very briefly, but it wasn't in a workout setting. So I don't know. I definitely know Gonzo the best out of that group.
Now let's talk a little bit about how the game is today. Do you like where the game is going with where the mentality is home run, walk, strikeout, no singles, doubles? You know, you don't see much of that no stealing anymore. Do you like the way the game is going in that regard, or do you see that style coming back?
I think that the pitchers are so good that, and I don't think it has a lot to do with like it or not like it. I think that the pitchers are so good that it's really hard to string 3 singles along in one inning. So I think that when people are like management is picking players who's going to play, I think that analytics have taught them that someone that can walk or hit a double or hit a home run actually help you win more games. So not that there aren't a bunch of still contact hitters in the big leagues, because there are, but there's probably less of them. And I think it's because the analytics have kind of taught them that it is hard to string together 3 singles consecutively. That's just a really hard thing to do with these pitchers.
Now, do you honestly like that in the game, that you see a lot more of that than what there was back in the day? Like growing up watching it, like I have, and just like you have, when there was hardly any analytics. Do you think there's too much involved in today's game?
I don't know, because every organization implements analytics differently. So I think that there's a big difference in how teams do it. I don't know. I think it's just kind of how the game is. I don't know if it's a like or a dislike. It's just kind of how I've always had to play it since I've been in pro ball. So I think it'd be weird to not shift someone if you know they're going to hit the ball somewhere, you know? So that's just kind of as an infielder. And does it suck when you hit the ball into a shift where growing up no one was standing? Like, yeah, that kind of sucks. But I guess if they're going to get you out on that, you kind of have to do the same thing back. And with this new agreement, I'm going to be curious to see if they change any of that. But I don't know.
Yeah, I got to ask you about that. What's this about the universal DH rule I hear coming into play probably next year? Well, I honestly, I don't know. I don't play the game. I can't. I mean, but from a fan standpoint, me growing up in it, I like the NL where the pitchers hit, and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
But do you honestly like that idea of the universal DH where the pitcher does not hit anymore in the NL?
I guess it helps me just having another position where a guy's going to hit and not have a pitcher hit. Like as a player and for my career, I like it because I'm a hitter and it opens more opportunity up for me. It is kind of funny to watch some of the pitchers hit sometimes. And
that is true.
Some of the pitchers are pretty good hitters too.
Yeah.
They don't love it, but I think a lot of the pitchers, I'd say majority of the pitchers don't like hitting. So when you're that close to it, I don't know if anyone's going to be overly disappointed that they don't have to hit every day.
Very true. So now I gotta ask you, growing up, our era, unfortunately, is known as the steroid era.
Hmm.
Do you think that honestly hurt or helped the game?
I think that when it happened, I think that it really, really helped the game. When I say that, I mean strictly based on fan involvement. How many people? I think that a lot of people. I think there was a lull right before that. I think that there was an agreement actually, and there was a lockout or a strike, and I think fan and viewership fell and brought back because people really like to watch Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, those races. Barry Bonds hitting the amount of home runs he hit. Like I think that anyone line if they didn't really enjoy that, I mean, what Barry Bonds could do, and not saying they're all steroid guys, but that era, these people were just hitting the ball so far, and it was just. You look back and look at some of these stats, you're like, oh my god, I can't even imagine. But I think that at the time, it really, really did help.
Now, do you think those guys should be in the Hall of Fame?
Man, I don't know. I guess it's if they were doing something that was legal, then yeah. Because a lot of these guys, I think, are getting kind of knocked because what they did was illegal now, but during the time they did it, it was legal. So I think that those guys shouldn't be penalized for that. But I don't know, because when I've been playing steroids and no really drugs like that, our drug testing system is so strict that I don't know how anyone can get away with steroids. So I guess I don't even know what the rules were then or what they are now. So I know the rules, but it's just like there's no gray area anymore. I feel like there's a bigger gray back in the day.
Now, how often is it that you guys get tested, or how does that play, or how does that come about? Do they only test if they suspect you're doing something? How does that go about, or how many times do you guys get tested?
So I was probably tested probably around 10 times this year, and it's just they test everybody a lot. So yeah, you get tested quite a bit. I got tested actually on Saturday. So you get tested in the off season too. So you're always getting tested now, which is it's good for the game. I mean, it'd be pretty much impossible to do something illegal. You do, like, you're gonna probably get caught, you know. So I would say it's good that it's an equal playing field for sure.
Now, Pete Rose won't be in the Hall of Fame ever because of betting, and Schilling won't be in because of his politics. Do you feel like those two should be in, like I do, because of what they did on the field instead of off?
I think Pete Rose should be. Obviously, I'm not an expert and I don't know exactly what happened, but he was just such an unbelievable player that I think that he probably should be. And what I've heard, which I don't know if this is true or false, but I feel like he was betting. So I don't really see that warrants him, because he was truly an amazing player. And I guess I don't know the Schilling politics as much, but the best pitchers in the game too. So I don't really know a lot about that situation.
So I know it's early in your career, and I know it's tough to see within years down the road, but where do you see yourself after the game of baseball? Do you see yourself coaching? Do you see yourself announcing, or do you see yourself doing something else, either in the game or out of the game?
I don't know. I went back and got my business administration degree. I took online classes and I did that, so I could maybe do something with that. I could maybe be a coach. I think that if the situation was right, I would coach. I don't think I'd be an announcer or anything like that. I think that I'll be connected to the game in some sort of fashion, but I'm not exactly sure how that would be if it's closer to the professional side or high school. I haven't thought about that too much.
What about a scout, maybe?
Maybe. I think being a scout would be kind of a fun job. I feel like I know a lot about the game right now, but a common thing with these scouts are the game changes so much that if you're not in the game right now, then they like, well, these scouts don't know this, they didn't play. So that'd be kind of a thing to deal with. But I think being a scout is fun.
Now, let me ask you about your fan base there in Arizona. Obviously, I'm here in the Tampa area where no fans come out. Fans, from what I've seen, because I got the Padres TV, and whenever you guys are playing the Padres, I don't see hardly any fans there. What's it got to take for you guys to get more fans out to your games?
I think we have to just win more games. I think that the bottom line is if you are in a game, the fans will show up, and if you're not winning a bunch of games, they lose interest a little bit, which is fair. You know? I mean, I'm sure even in Tampa Bay, the Rays are making those runs, getting closer to the playoffs, and those playoffs are pretty packed. I think that that's what really drives fan.
Now, I know you don't know what's going on right now between the team or whatever with who you're going to get, but in your opinion, who would you honestly like for your team to get in free agency?
Oh man, I don't even know who's a free agent, so that's hard to say. I don't know. I think that just because if last year you're asking me this question, and I would have never even thought of Asdrubal Cabrera, because I don't think he's a great player. It's just because I don't even
Right.
didn't know where he was. I didn't know. So that's such a question. But, I mean, Asdrubal is a great addition. I love learning baseball players I've ever seen. I remember growing up, he was on my fantasy baseball team.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He's been around for forever. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's still unbelievable. So that was really cool to see that.
Is there any player that you looked up to the most that you actually would like to learn from in the game, besides your teammates that you've learned from?
So hard to say when you don't know them personally, because when you watch them, there's a ton of guys that you would want from. Like, I'd love to pick Mookie Betts' brain about hitting and stuff, because he's just so unbelievable.
Right.
But when you don't know him personally, it's hard to say. And then when you're in the clubhouse with these veterans, it's like, wow, these guys know a lot. They've been through it all, seen it all. So I don't think it really matters who it is. It's just like the guys that have been in the league for 6, 7, 8 years, like just the stuff that they've seen it all, So it's like never surprised. They know what works for them. They're very convicted in what they do. You don't love the same they do. It's like you can learn something from how convicted they are in their work. So that's something it doesn't matter who it is. I love just watching how they work.
Now, take us into the mindset of a hitter. What are you guys actually looking for up at the plate? What pitch per se are you looking to hit the most as a hitter? What are you looking for?
Most of the time, a fastball. I think that if you're on a fastball and you're locked in, you can cover up other pitches. You obviously look at the scouting reports too, and if the pitcher's throwing 90% sliders, you're going to sit slider a little more. And then after that, I think that you look at what the pitcher's doing that game, and sometimes the reports aren't exactly what they're doing that day. Sometimes pitchers they don't have a feel for their changeup, and even though the report says they throw it 40% of the time, if they don't have it that day, it'd be foolish to sit on it. So I think that the most important thing you can do as a hitter is to really watch what they're doing that day and what they have a feel for, and kind of pick out the other right-handed batters in your lineup and see how they're being pitched to. And they're probably going to throw you somewhat similarly.
Now, is there occasions where the pitcher tips his pitches to you guys, or is there the only way that happens when you know what's coming is when there's a runner on second base?
Well, pitchers have gotten very, very good at not tipping pitches, and on second base, the catchers use so many different signs that I've never cracked their code. sometimes catchers, when they're on second base, they have a better feel for it because they know what. But I'd say I don't know if there was a single time I knew what pitch was coming.
Now, unfortunately, I have to ask you this, but it just happened a couple years ago with the Astros getting caught, and so with the Red Sox. Do you think there's more cheating in baseball, that teams just aren't getting caught? What's your take on that?
I think that back when those teams got in trouble for it, I think more teams were doing it than people realized. And now I don't think it's really happening at all, because in the clubhouse and I'm around the cage during the game, there's MLB security walking around and making sure that none of that's happening. So I don't think it's happening right now. And if it is, somehow it's not happening on our team, and I don't even know how it would be possible.
So 2 more questions before I let you go, because I know it's late, especially over here, and I know you got to get off to doing, like you said, I can't, you know, that's why you had to do this early. So I don't want to keep you waiting. So I got 2 more questions. What do you do in your off season that's not training for the next season?
I hunt a lot. I try and spend as much time with family and friends as I can when I'm back home, because when the season's going, man, it's a season. Go down in mid-January, and I won't get back until October. So I try to spend as much time with them as I can, because I don't see them as much during the season. So yeah, I spend time with friends and family. I love to hunt, and besides that, I'm just kind of trying to hone my craft, and that's up almost all my time. I like to cook too. I try to learn how to cook things, pick up a new hobby. So that's kind of what I do.
Are you a gamer as well, as most of these ball players become, like Snell and all of them? Twitch?
I'm not. So many of them are, but I just haven't gotten into it. I sold my Xbox and 3 or 4 seasons ago, and once I didn't have a console, I kind of just never got back into it.
So now the final question I have is, obviously it's early on in your career, and we don't know how long it will be, but define what you think your career will be in 1 word.
Oh, that's almost an impossible question. I just try to be as prepared as I can. When I get opportunities, I try to take the most of them. I think that I'm a very, very good player in this league. So the only thing that I can control is what my plan is, and in every offseason, I'm going to continue to do that because it's worked pretty well so far.
There you go. And my bonus question before I let you go: Is there a manager besides your manager out there that you would want to pick their brain?
Oh man, I would probably go with a lot of them, because I think there's so many really good managers. I think that a lot of them I watched growing up. Some of them aren't even managing anymore. I remember growing up watching Mike Scioscia, and the Angels were my favorite team, and they just seemed to win, even though I don't think that they had the talent to win. Sometimes when they won the World Series, I think they were a wild card. They have
What have I said about your card?
just superstars, and they won a World Series. So I'd really love to ask him a few questions about how that team came together and what that team was like in the clubhouse. So probably Mike Scioscia.
And what about the sensation of Shohei Ohtani? What do you think of that? With doing both.
Player on the planet. I mean, he's hitting the ball further than anyone and throwing it harder than anyone. I think that's unbelievable. I can't remember anyone that has ever done it.
Do you see more of that happening in today's game with the two-way player?
Oh, I still don't see it very often. It's so hard to maintain. I feel like some players definitely have the ability to do it, because obviously a lot of these position players have just unbelievable arms. But to throw one of your best position players on the mound at the risk of getting it's just I think it's risky for a lot of guys, and I think that it all the time. And maybe it changes with how successful he's been.
Definitely. Well, I thank you for your time. I'll let you go so you can go finish whatever you got to do because I don't want to keep you waiting. But it was a good episode. I got your contact info. Feel free to come on over as much as you want. Please feel free to share the episode after I send it over to you. Share the YouTube page. I like the shirt still. Good old times there.
Thank
So
you.
flashback. But it was fun. I'll send you over the episode, and I'll definitely stay in touch with you. Now
Yep.
I got your contact info.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Definitely, and kill him next year. Kill him.
Yes, sir.
Just don't kill my Padres though.
Play the Padres too much to make that promise.
Oh, I know. But it was fun. You have a good night and take care. All right.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Stay safe.
Yep, you too.
Will do. Thank you.
Yep.
Bye.